New York City bars, restaurants, and event venues have all been ordered to close. New York is the latest in a string of cities from Los Angeles to Boston are closing sit-down restaurants and prohibiting large gatherings. Residents are being encouraged to practice social distancing, a practice meant to reduce the number of face-to-face interactions in order to avoid a spike in new cases. Well, with me now is Dr. Jen Caudle, family physician and associate professor at Rowan University. She's in Philadelphia for us. Dr. Caudle, great to see you again. Glad to have you here.
Thanks. Good to see you too.
So why are cities closing down schools, bars, and restaurants? Why is that the main tactic that's being done?
Well, it's this idea of social distancing, which is exactly what you just mentioned. Social distancing is the idea of staying at least 6 feet away from other people, especially those who are sick, avoiding large crowds, and literally keeping our contact with others to a minimum in efforts to decrease virus spread. The virus will spread a lot less if we're not in contact with each other as much.
Right, but we've heard from the beginning that children seem to have, if not an immunity, be less susceptible with contracting the virus and getting deathly ill from it. So you would think schools would be okay.
Well, so a couple things about what you just said. We don't necessarily know that they can't contract it as easily. What we do know is that the complications of children from when they get the coronavirus is a lot less than older people and those with weakened immune systems. So they don't seem to get as sick from it. That's really what it is. But they can get the coronavirus and they can still spread it to other people, even those who are higher risk.
Got it. Okay. So then overall, how do we flatten the curve with social distancing, keeping our distance away that you're sure limits this?
So social distancing is one of our main things that we have in the pipeline for decreasing this curve. When we talk about flattening the curve, we're talking about a curve that's naturally going to spike if we don't put in place these measures. If we don't social distance, if we don't wash our hands, if we don't close things down, this spike, I'm glad you have it up there, is going to be that orange spike that you see right there. You see it's going to peak high, it's going to peak relatively quickly, and it's going to basically interrupt the healthcare system. It's going to overwhelm the healthcare system capacity. Flattening the curve refers to that red curve, which is flatter and more wide. If we start social distancing, putting all of these preventive measures in place, staying home, things like that, we will have fewer people with coronavirus cases. They will happen over a longer period of time. They'll be spread out more, and our health system will not get overwhelmed, amongst so many other benefits. So that's what we mean by flattening the curve. That is super important.
And that applies for even someone who's not sick at all, showing no symptoms. They should still be practicing social distancing.
Absolutely. We have reached a point now where this is everyone's game. Everyone needs to be, I don't want to say out there because that's not the case. Everyone needs to be basically practicing social distancing because we've reached that point where we need to kind of stem this virus. We all really play a role in this. So I love what you have up there, not attending large meetings or gatherings. We know that there is sort of a rule that the CDC put out last night that no more than 50 people in a gathering. In particular gatherings, staggering commuting times, avoiding peak hours, working from home if possible, certainly washing our hands and coughing, sneezing into our elbow and all that kind of good stuff we still want to do. But the social distancing, everyone needs to participate regardless.
And why is the risk higher in adults, older adults, as opposed to children, the elderly especially?
That's a really great question. I think there's still a lot that we have to learn about this virus and exactly how it affects people. But there are a few things we know about the body as we get older in general. As we get older, and this is regardless of whether there's coronavirus around or not, older folks tend to have immune systems that just don't work as well and as robustly as those immune systems of younger people. So that very likely plays a role in why older people are tending to be affected more. But we still have a lot more to learn about other elements why this may be happening as well.
So on the other side, should children still go to playgrounds on play dates? I mean, should we get them at least out into fresh air?
Yeah, I think fresh air is actually a really good idea. We know that if you got to do something with your kids, you can take them outside. That's for certain. However, there are caveats with this. And I heard another expert on TV saying that, a closed school, or if your school is closed, it's not the same as a snow day. That doesn't mean that we all of a sudden start having play dates and going to the playground with 100 other kids. The idea is you still want to practice social distancing even if your school is closed. Kids can go outside, but they need to be in very small groups, if any at all. They need to be 6 feet away if possible. They need to be at playgrounds when there's not a lot of activity. There is some suggestion. Some people have said that maybe avoiding things where kids touch monkey bars and things like that may be not as good of an option as kicking around a soccer ball. But the idea is still we have to practice social distancing even when our kids are home, and not just pretend it's a snow day and it's a free day, because it's not.
Important information for parents, adults, for all of us here. Thank you, Dr. Jen Caudle, with us in Philadelphia.
Thank you.